Right, you lot. Aston Villa have made it through to the semi-final of the Europa Conference League, not without a little bit of controversy, not without playing one of our worst 120 minutes of football. The cats are going mental already, that I've seen probably in a little while. But we got the job done thanks to the heroics of EMI MARTINEZ. There is a hell of a lot to break down from this game, so we'll get into that first, and then we will go and have a look at how we should possibly line up against Bournemouth, because that game just became 5 times as vital as it was before due to the coefficient spots pretty much gone for England. Now, we'll get into all of that after we get into the Lille game, what happened in that game, the referee for that game, and EMI MARTINEZ heroics as well. If you're enjoying the Villa content, of course, leave a like, subscribe down below, comment your thoughts on the Lille game and what you think about the Bournemouth game coming up. But let's get into it. So, as you can see, I'll pop them up just there. The stats are on screen. There's nothing really to cry home about in terms of the stats for this game. Lille were the better team. That was clear for everyone to see. Villa just didn't really turn up for this game. We relied on an 87th, 88th minute goal from Matthew Bartholomew Cash, Polish finest right back, to get us into extra time, where we pretty much just held on. John Duran went close in probably like that 118th minute from a fantastic piece of work from Morgan Rogers on the wing to get the ball into him. But the keeper, again, absolutely fantastic. Actually, the Lille keeper, the double save from Dougie Luiz as well was out of this world, although Luiz should have scored it, if we're being fair here. But it, of course, wasn't to be on the day, went to penalties, and then obviously EMI MARTINEZ keeping out 2 Lille penalties. I think it was Ben Taleb and their captain, is it Silva possibly, or Andre, something like that. Their captain anyway missed the last penalty after Leon Bailey's was saved to send Villa cruising through to a game against Olympiacos at the beginning of May. In terms of this game, like I say, player ratings wise, there wasn't really that much to talk about. Everyone in a Villa shirt, pretty much apart from Ezri Konsa and EMI MARTINEZ, was slap bang average. It's fine, you have those off days. I'd rather have those off days now in Europe than in the Premier League, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, because of, again, the coefficient spots have completely changed the landscape of how important getting 4th spot is for us now. But yeah, I thought, first of all, a massive shout out to Ezri Konsa that game. It's the reason I have him on the back of my Villa shirt this season. He was asked to go back into his more natural centre-back role against Jonathan David, who has been linked with every elite club under the sun in Europe over the past 12 months. One of Europe's elite strikers, 24 years old, powerful, strong, and an eye for a goal. And Ezri Konsa made him look like he played for Accrington Stanley in this game. He didn't get a whiff against Konsa. Konsa dealt with him absolutely expertly. And again, I think Konsa for me would be my man of the match in 90 minutes or even in 120 minutes. Then MARTINEZ takes it over after the penalty shootout. In terms of everyone else, like I say, everyone else was pretty slap bang average for this game, and I don't think there's anyone in a Villa sort of fan base that could disagree with me particularly on that one. And then we get into the penalty shootout. Obviously MARTINEZ, our hero there, saving Lille's 1st and 5th penalties after Leon Bailey missed his one. But you know, what's the main talking point from this game as well, apart from the fact we are through to a semi-final? I think it's May the 2nd and May the 9th. We'll play Olympiacos home and away after they beat Fenerbahce on penalties in their respective game as well. But the biggest takeaway from this was just, again, the absolutely poor standard of refereeing. I can't remember the referee's name. I'll slap it up on screen now, but he's from the Slovakian league. He has actually taken charge of Champions League games in the past, which I'm very surprised about. And I think it was one of 3 things. He gave out 10 yellow cards in that game, including a 2nd yellow card to MARTINEZ, but everyone learnt about the rule where yellow cards in a penalty shootout don't count if you've already had one effectively, so MARTINEZ was allowed to carry on. But yeah, 10 yellow cards, a yellow card for both the Lille manager and Unai Emery in the game as well. And it was just an absolute shambles. And like I said, I think it boils down to one of 3 things. He was either trying to assert his dominance early in the game, and it just absolutely fell flat on his bum because it just didn't work. 2, he just let the occasion get to him in terms of it was his first Conference League game this season. It's a quarter-final, it's in Lille. Or 3, he just simply is a bad referee, made bad decisions and didn't like Aston Villa, because there was a couple of things he'd done that were just a little bit suspect for me. Like for Ollie Watkins' penalty, or was it Douglas Luiz's penalty? he was like right in Douglas Luiz's face, like walking towards the penalty spot as Douglas Luiz was doing his run up. Like I say, the yellow cards for both Aston Villa and Lille were absolutely terrible, some of them. The second yellow card for EMI MARTINEZ, I really don't understand that. You know, the Lille fans tried to attack EMI MARTINEZ before the game, were throwing missiles at him during the penalty shootout, and were taunting him the whole game. And you're going to give him a yellow card because he's shushing the crowd after he saves a penalty and he's going like that. He said he was asking for a ball. I don't believe that as far as I can throw it. I think he was G'ing the fans up, but who cares? That's what football's about. The geezer's the best goalkeeper in the world. If the Lille fans are giving him some stick, let him shush them. Do you know what I mean? I remember Jamie Vardy, the amount of celebrations he would do purely to wind up the opposition fans, you know. I remember when I went to see Chelsea versus Villa at Villa Park in the FA Cup, Cole Palmer was literally bantering the fans the whole game, like winding them up. He didn't get a yellow card for it. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, I think that means that EMI MARTINEZ is actually suspended for the first leg of the Olympiacos game. I would like to see Joe Gauci get a start in that game, to be fair. But yeah, the referee was just terrible. The standard of refereeing in the Conference League actually makes me appreciate the standard of refereeing in the Premier League a little bit more, because that referee, that might have been one of the worst refereeing performances I've seen in my life. But it doesn't matter, because Villa have won. We're through to the semi-final. Like I say, it's at the beginning of May. It's going to be against Olympiacos of Greece. And I think their main threat is probably Steven Jovetic, if you remember him from Man City, I think it was he played for. And then Fiorentina. He's probably the only player I really recognise from them anyway. But again, a winnable game. We're through with the last English team through to the semi-finals of any European competition. Which brings me on to the Bournemouth preview, which we'll get into very, very shortly. Coefficient spots effectively mean that the fifth finishing team in the sort of top 5 leagues in Europe would get that extra Champions League spot next season. It's pretty much been between Germany and England for that 5th spot. Italy have confirmed theirs so long ago it's not even worth talking about. But because obviously Bayern Munich beat Arsenal, Manchester City have gone out to Real Madrid, Liverpool went out to Atalanta, West Ham went out to Bayer Leverkusen. We are the last English club remaining in Europe, 1 out of 8 teams, and Germany still have 3, I think it is, to play, or 2 left in the competition, and they're probably going to go all the way. So England aren't going to get that 5th spot, which means we have to finish top 4 for Champions League. That makes the Bournemouth game vital. Let's preview it. So as you can see on the screen next to me, this will be my starting lineup that I would pick if I was Unai Emery against Bournemouth, and I'll explain a couple of my decisions here. Obviously, EMI MARTINEZ, one of the first names on the team sheet. Luca Digne, because Alex Moreno is injured, so we're going to see Digne starting every game over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So hopefully his legs will hold up. I think he's actually been one of our better performers this season anyway. Pau Torres keeps his spot in the starting lineup, and I think Diego Carlos comes back into that centre-back role. Man of the match performance against Arsenal. Little guest here. Man of the match performance against Arsenal. And, you know, Matty Cash, fair enough, he got the goal. He scored a penalty. But he's just played 120 minutes after having a hamstring injury for 3 weeks. So I think it's probably best to ease him back in now, especially to the pace of the Premier League. And for that reason, Ezri Konsa goes back into right back, unfortunately for him. Morgan Rogers came on for Zaniolo, who came off injured quite early in the Lille game. But again, it's been one of our standout performers, so I think he has to keep his spot. He starts on the left purely because Douglas Luiz is serving the last of his 2-game suspension. So Yuri Tielemans and John McGinn keep their place in the centre midfield role after an absolutely outrageously good performance from both of them against Arsenal. Moussa Diaby starts on the right. Leon Bailey had a heavily strapped knee in the Lille game, missed his penalty. I just wouldn't risk him. I would probably start Diaby, who was our player of the month last month, and I think just needs a couple of good 90 minutes under his belt. And I think Leon Bailey's a better option to have off the bench against Bournemouth, and that allows Ollie Watkins and John Duran, who again, John Duran I thought was a really bright spark when he came on against Lille, nearly scored in extra time, and I think he's done enough to warrant his place having another go at starting in the Premier League. And I think Bournemouth would be a good game for him to do it. If we look at Bournemouth's last results here, if I scroll across on my phone, they're actually on a good run of form despite being 13th, I think it is, in the table. They come into this game on the back of 3 wins, 1 loss and a draw, most recently to Manchester United. A game they probably could have won, to be fair. And again, they're a good team. They've got good players. Dom Solanke, Justin Cliver are two that spring to mind. And a team that can never, ever be underestimated in this league. They always give us a tough game. And I think it is going to be a tough game this Sunday. There's no denying that Bournemouth can be a bit of a bogey team for Villa, but one that hopefully we can overcome. If we go over to the table as well, you can see, again, those coefficient spots make this game vital. I don't believe Tottenham have a game this weekend. And at the moment in the Premier League, especially in against a team like Tottenham, who have a reputation that will be playing on their minds about doing the Spursy thing and bottling it towards the end of the league, we have a chance to put 6 points between us. Actually, I think we play 2 games before they play their next game, which is against Chelsea, I want to say. So we have a chance now to put daylight between us, 6 points. Yes, it is with 2 games sort of up on them, so technically they're equal on points if they win their game in hand. But the mental blockage they might get from knowing, all right, Villa are 4th, they're 6 points ahead of us, we have to win these next 2 games. It might be too much for them, and they've got a really tough run of fixtures. We have a couple of really hard games still to go, like Liverpool and Brighton. So a game like Bournemouth, you see them down there at the bottom on 13. Not on 13 points. Jesus Christ, they really would be on the bottom. But on 42 points in 13th position in the table. It's a game that we simply have to win to put the pressure on Tottenham, that we have to win to get Champions League next year. I understand the boys are going to be leggy. They've just played 120 minutes. They're going to have to travel on a plane from France to England. Luckily, not too long, so I can't see them getting the Eurostar. Where are you going, little boy? But again, no excuses. This is the life of a top 4 team now. You play in Europe, then you play in the Premier League, and you've got to win these games against the lower league opposition. And I believe we will. I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory to Aston Villa. Ollie Watkins to get 2 more goals to take him to the top of the goal scoring charts in the Premier League. And we're going to go Yuri Tielemans. He's really been playing well recently, and I think he deserves a goal. Nearly got a goal against Arsenal. I'm backing him to get it against Bournemouth. I do think that someone like Solanke will get a goal against us. We'll just nick it in purely because we're leggy. We are going to have a fresh Diego Carlos, but the rest of our back line are probably going to be pretty fatigued. But I still think we should have enough to get across the line. If we play anything like we did against Arsenal, we'll be absolutely fine. And then I will see you guys for the review of this game next Monday. I have 2 more special videos coming next week, and then it's going to be back to regularly scheduled programming as I go back to work. But nonetheless, I hope you guys have been enjoying. Leave a like, subscribe, up the Villa, and be nice to everyone.